Sean.
Hey, okay.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Can you hear me?
hmm Can you see
Okay.
me?
Yeah, I can see you. Um,
Okay,
just let me adjust a few things here real quick.
certainly.
Uh, I saw Tim.
Yeah, yeah, he was helping me get everything set up. So,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right.
Now
Well,
let me ask you a question. If I click on another screen to read something, will my image go fuzzy?
I
Let me
am
try
not too
it.
sure. I
Let
am
me
not
try
too
it.
sure. Okay.
Okay, watch the screen. Let me know. Can you still see me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Nope,
All right.
we're good. Yeah, thanks, babe.
Well,
Okay.
okay. So, let's go on ahead and get it started.
Yeah.
Tell everybody who you are and about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Sean, for having me on. I am a friend of Sean's from our American Foundation for Suicide Prevention volunteer days. We have met through the AFSP on a walk, I believe it was. I can't remember how many years ago. But I am a volunteer for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Tennessee chapter, as Sean is. I am a suicide loss survivor. I lost my husband in 2012, and that's how you get involved in these kinds of things, right? Is you either struggle yourself or you lose someone. So that's my story. And in my professional life, I work for a recovery program for health professionals, and that includes health professionals who struggle with mental health and depression and suicidal ideation. So that kind of brings my volunteer world and my work world together. And in my personal life, I am a mom of an adult son and a grandma to his four children plus a bonus because he got remarried to a sweet lady who has a young son. So now I have five grandchildren. So that's me, and I'm married to a musician in Nashville.
All right, and I believe you have recently won an award. Um, Tell me about that.
Yes, yes. And this is all related to the suicide prevention efforts and then the work of my work to tackle the problem of mental health among healthcare workers today. So yes, I was had the good fortune to be nominated and won the one of the awards for the Women of Influence in Nashville for 2025, and that was awarded in April. And it was because of the work I've done in suicide prevention, and then bringing my work world and my volunteer world together. In that we took a mental health screening tool that AFSP developed, and we at my work adopted that and launched it online for mental health for health professionals in the state to get a mental health screening resource. So it's an anonymous, free, confidential online screening tool for all the health professionals in Tennessee that we serve. So that kind of brought work world and volunteer world together. And so that we were the first physician health program in the country to launch that tool and utilize that tool for our health professional population. So, and then since then, other PHPs around the country have adopted this same resource, and they're
Hmm.
starting to use it for their health professionals in their states. So that was all that to say, yes, that
All
was
right.
the reason I was nominated and the reason we got the award. So yeah,
Okay. So so you and me met through AFSP. I actually met you through the Memphis Walk, through when you were on the Memphis Walk Committee when Tanya was still on board, and that's how I met you. So funny story. I was at work one day, okay, and the place I used to work, my boss and you had the same name, okay. So I
Really?
thought I was calling. So I thought I was calling my. So I thought I was calling my boss. I was in the shred area, shredding paper, and I thought I was calling my boss. Um, I accidentally called you. Um, I will have to say that that is probably the best accidental call that I've ever made.
Oh yeah.
It's probably the best
I didn't.
accident. Yes, it was probably the best accidental call I ever made. Um, because at that time, I was still going through a lot of depression, suicidal ideations, or whatnot. And you call, and you actually called back. And I remember, and I can't remember. It was a few days later. We had a conversation, and you were asking, um, how can I support you? And I said, well, how about you just check on me, okay? And you, you said sure. So um, my anxiety set in, and I thought I would be somewhat of a bo- bother to you because that's just how anxiety talks to you, like that. Um, you said I would not be a bother, and ever since it's then you checked on me. Um, you, you and Tim have checked on me often, often. I should say all the time, all the time. So yeah, that was the best accidental call that I ever made. So let's talk about the
Mm.
Nashville walk. I th- I believe the past couple of years I have walked alone. The past couple of years I have walked alone. Okay, and I believe I walked alone in 2023 and 2024. The walk that I went to a few years ago, Nashville, it was actually raining. It was actually raining. It was a cold. It was 54 degrees, but it felt like a cold rain. And so I walked along the past couple of years. I know they have a. I know AFSP doesn't want anybody to walk alone, but somehow I managed to walk alone the past couple
Mm.
of years. So um, needless to say, it felt good. It felt good not to walk alone. The walk alone this year. And
Mhm.
and I actually got a chance to meet your sister um
Mhm.
at this year's walk. And
Yeah.
and yeah, we both and yeah, so that was pretty cool.
You, you re-met my sister.
Actually, yeah, yeah, yeah. I really met your sister, and we actually went out to and we actually had a pretty nice time there.
Yeah.
And it's just too bad, and it's just and it's just too bad I had to go back to Memphis that same day. Just too bad I had to go back to Memphis that same day.
I know. I felt bad. You were having to drive up and then drive back all in the same day.
Well, I didn't go straight home immediately. I actually stayed for like another hour or two and did some shop and did some shopping.
Oh,
So I didn't immediately go go home right away.
okay.
Um, so I told my story at the 2023 Memphis Walk, and we were on the conference call a few days ago, and there is a very strong possibility that I will be retelling my story again.
Hmm. In this year's
Uh,
walk on the 18th of October. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
um, and it seems like it's sneaking up on us pretty fast. It's sneaking up on us pretty fast.
No kidding.
Um,
October already.
and I think the walk that was held in Nashville, I think it was only fitting that it happened during Suicide Prevention Month.
Mhm. Mhm.
It happened during
You know,
Suicide.
when I first started walking in 2013 with AFSP, before I even became a volunteer, that walk was held in September during Suicide Prevention Week. And then somehow it just got pushed further back in the calendar.
Hmm.
Our walks became later and later in the year, and we'd encounter cold weather and rain and just terrible, you know. So I was really glad this year that they got it back in September, when the weather was decent, you know, and
Hmm.
not too cold. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. Last year in at the Memphis Walk, it was the morning started out cool. The morning started out cool, but as the sun came out, it started to heat up. Um, so for those of you out there who may not know, um, I was bullied um, in middle and high school. I had my teeth knocked out by a bike accident I had in the ninth grade. Um, and all that anger was built up inside of me. And when I graduated high school, I was actually bitter over what had happened. And all that bitterness led to depression, anxiety, and eventually a suicide attempt on my high part. The suicide attempt was very futile, but an attempt is a attempt, no matter how futile it is. And so
How, how old were you, Sean?
I was actually in my early, I was actually in my early 20s when I first thought about suicide. Yeah, I first thought about suicide when I was in my early 20s. Um, and yeah, yeah, it was a pretty dark. It was a pretty dark time. Um, um, there are a lot of people out there who struggle with the same kind of suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, um, and a lot of people are afraid to speak up about it. Um, what are what are your views on the stigma of suicide?
We talk a lot about stigma where I work and with AFSP, but most recently where I work, we've done a big battle here in Tennessee to reduce the stigma for health professionals, who are afraid to come forward with any kind of mental health struggle. because they worry that they're going to get bashed in their career because of it. Not just regular stigma from other people judging them, but they're afraid that they will lose career opportunities. No one's going to recommend them for a fellowship if they think there's, that's what they think, that no one's going to recommend me for a fellowship if they know I'm struggling with my mental health. Or, no one's going to put my name in for that job promotion if they think I can't handle the stress or healthcare is a very stressful work environment. And it's got a culture of toughen up. You're here for the duration. You're here no matter what's going on. You work long hours. You see all kinds of things happen in the ER or in the medical realm. Patients are coming in on their worst day, and you have to be on. You have to be 100% every time. And so health professionals worry that they're going to get passed over for those kinds of promotional opportunities or more responsibility or fellowship or any kind of career perks. They're afraid they're going to get dinged on their licensure if they admit on the license application that they have struggled with mental health. So we have done a battle where I work to change questionnaires that are intrusive when it comes to mental health on healthcare licensure applications here in Tennessee. Now, we have succeeded in the DO. There are DO physicians and MD physicians, medical doctors and osteopathic doctors. So they each have a separate board, separate licensing applications. And on both of those applications, those questions have been changed or eliminated. So we now have a much more stigma-free experience for people filling out those licensure applications here in Tennessee. Now, stigma still exists, is still there, and it exists out there for a lot of other industries and a lot of other professions, as you know. So we're trying to tackle that, at least in the healthcare field. So they've just been under a lot of stress since COVID,
Speaking of stress, I'm a crisis counselor. I work as a crisis counselor, okay? And I work overnight. And overnights are the toughest. Overnights are always the toughest because that's when that's when all the bad stuff is happening. All the bad stuff is happening. And as a crisis worker, you hear things. You hear things that as a crisis worker, you try not to get too emotionally involved in it. And so I often say, like, by being a crisis worker, okay, it's often like kind of like being a ambulance worker, a paramedic, a cop. Thing about it is, cops, ambulance workers, paramedics, they see and they hear. And so, as a crisis worker on the 988 line, we primarily hear, and we hear things that really break our hearts. But you got to stay in a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? You try not to you don't want to let your feelings get involved. You don't want to let your feelings get involved. And so
well, for their sake, you want to maintain some perspective and you want to offer help in a calm and matter-of-fact way, and you don't want to be emotional because you want them to be a safe place to pour their emotions. So,
Yeah.
am I wrong in that?
As a matter of fact, I was at the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network suicide prevention conference of Greater Memphis, which was held just a couple of weeks back, just a few weeks back, and and um and I don't think that I really know just how much appreciation that people have for crisis workers. Okay, because we had a break at the conference. We had a break at the conference, and I was telling this lady about what I did, and she just said, "Well, I would just like to say, hey, thank you. Your work is important." So um, I'm really not aware of how much crisis workers are appreciated, and it's something that I really don't pay attention to
Yeah.
until somebody says it. Because what do you think about? Because somebody told me this years ago. Um, said 988 workers are um are they're kind of like the first responders of mental health. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I would. I definitely would. Matter of fact, you all, ever since the 988 system was put in place, when it
Hmm.
used to be, different regional hotlines and things, now it's all one and it's fed out, regionally, but you all are answering the 988 line. Technically you are. And it has just, you guys have just been inundated. And I
Yeah,
know that that's got to be a real challenge every moment, with the amount of calls and texts you guys. Well, is it a different team that does the text crisis
yeah, yeah. It's a
texting
different team that does the
response?
text.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's a different team that does the text.
okay. But on
So
either side,
yeah,
you all have been,
yeah,
yeah, bless you.
yeah. I remember. I remember I was on. I was on a call last week, and just before we ended the call with his person, um, the caller said, the caller told me, "Hey," the caller told me, "Hey, you got to look out for you too." that's what
Hmm.
that's what this caller said. The caller said, hey, you're looking out for me. Hey, you have to look out for you. You have to look out for you too." So yeah,
Well, I'm glad he said that.
so yeah.
That is so true. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
made a point about the healthcare industry.
Mhm.
Um, I would just imagine that being a nurse is very is very is very overwhelming because nurses see things and they see people
Mhm.
pass away.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you said. It's like you said. Healthcare healthcare is a healthcare is a industry. Along with constru- construction, um,
Construction of a high rate, yes, of mental health and
farm
suicide.
workers,
Hmm.
workers.
Farm. Hmm.
Um,
Veterinarians,
yeah.
healthcare field, they have some of the highest risk.
One, and one of the things that I often say in my videos is suicide affects everybody from the everyday man to the everyday woman to the boy to the girl. Um, it affects the truck driver, the fast food worker, the warehouse worker, the Uber driver, um,
Does
the person
the
who hits it.
pastor? It affects
Yes,
the pastor.
yes. I read.
Um,
Yes, yes. I read somewhere where a pastor. It was several years ago. It was several years ago, but there was a pastor who ended his life by um, suicide. Yeah, there was a pastor who ended his life by suicide.
yeah.
So yeah, it affects everybody, and um, when it affects everybody, um, and when someone reaches out for help, this is often one of the things that I often say too is um, when people are depressed, it's like a small mental brush fire. That's big. That is like right here. And when some people come to family member friends and they dismiss them, I would I often say it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. Now
Mm,
you ignited a blaze. Now you've ignited a blaze, and now that has
mm,
gone from a small or bright fire to a blaze. That's called suicide.
mm.
And and that's where we come in at 988. Our
Mhm.
job is to extinguish extinguish that blaze. Um, I want to go back to um, the healthcare workers and crisis workers. Somebody told me. I remember at Christmas time. Um, Somebody at the Memphis Crisis Center told me that being a crisis worker is a thankless job. Would you agree with that?
I would assume that is correct. I have no concept of what it's like to be a crisis worker, crisis counselor, but I'm assuming that, especially those who work overnight,
Hmm.
you're there, 24/7. Your whole team, um, that very little thanks comes your way. The people that you're on the phone with
Hmm.
are probably not in a headspace to go, oh, and thank you very much. I mean, some of them might say thank you,
Hmm.
but not everybody's going to do that.
Yeah.
And you're seeing them again on their worst day. They're in a space where they are struggling to even make it through another day. So I imagine you all don't get a lot of thanks. And then a lot of people around you who aren't doing your job probably have no concept of what it's like. So they might not be as
Actually,
aware.
actually, um, something else that I say, if we just take the time to um, listen, not judge, show compassion, be empathetic, you're going to make a positive impact. And so, what do you think about um, people who reach out for help, who just want to be heard, just want to be listened? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's one of the tenets of suicide prevention training is letting them talk, letting them say what's on their hearts and trying not, and emotion and how they're feeling. and not trying to mitigate that and saying, "Oh, you're taking that too seriously," or "Oh, things aren't that bad." Just trying to count your blessings. Pull yourself up out of that funk you're in. Go
Hmm.
for a run. Do. I mean, it's just all the suggestions. Resist the urge. That's one of the tenets we are taught is to listen and, as you said, empathize. And maybe echo, mirror back, and say, "What I hear you saying is," and mirror back what they're saying, and make sure that they know that you're listening to them and
Hmm.
you're hearing them. So yeah, I totally understand and I agree with that is the important thing to do.
Okay. So
So,
at the suicide prevention conference a few weeks ago, they were one of the speakers. He was telling he was telling us about Kevin Hines. Okay. Um,
yeah,
so you know who Kevin Hines is?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So
He's the Golden Gate Bridge guy, right?
mhm,
Right.
mhm. So
Yeah.
um, one of the speakers said Kevin was walking along the Golden Gate Bridge, and he said, I believe he said, um, if somebody smiles at me or asks me how I'm doing, he wouldn't jump. And nobody smiled at him. Nobody asked him how he was doing.
Mm.
And he jumped. He survived. Um, um, now they have they built a safety net. Okay,
Hmm.
they actually built a safety net, and they were talking about one of the speakers talking about it only took like 87 years. It took
Yeah.
only 87 years to get that safety net over the Golden Gate Bridge. And
Mhm.
one of the other things that he talked about was the Golden Gate Bridge had like a call box. Okay, it had like a call box, and I didn't even know this. So
Mm.
this was new to me. The Golden Gate Bridge had like a suicide prevention call box, and it was a button you could push when you need help. And they a little bit later on said that was very dismissive. That call box was very dismissive, and it didn't help anybody.
Mm.
Um, and I thought about that for a second, and I thought about that for a second, and I said, and I said in my mind, I think I think he makes a pretty valid point. Um, a suicide call box that is there and nobody has used it.
Hmm.
Um, he thought that was very dismissive of people who were in such pain. Um, yeah, so I did not even know about the suicide call box.
Mm.
Nobody used it. You know,
Yeah.
nobody used it. So I make no secret about the fact that I have struggled with suicide ideation, suicidal thoughts. Um, you may remember um, back in I want to say it was around 2021, 2022, somewhere around there. 2018, 2019, around that time frame, where I found a small, um, I found a small blade in the shape of a triangle. Okay, and I felt something go through my my chest when I saw her that blade. Okay, and I picked it up and I put it in my bag. And I remember you texting me to see how I was doing. I told you about how that had a blade, and you were like, "Hey, you got to get rid of that blade. You got to get rid of that blade right now." I said, "Okay." So it was a few days later. I did not get rid of the blade. Why? Because one, I forgot it was in my bag. Two, I was so preoccupied with work that I wasn't even thinking that I really wasn't even thinking about it. So I remember you said texted me and said, "Have you got rid of the blade yet?" I said no. I
Yeah.
said, "Then
So I reminded you that you had it. Is that what it was? Did I remind you that you had that blade?
uh, I don't think you reminded me, but you texted me and
Okay.
said, "Did I get rid? Did I get rid of it?"
Right. Right. I just wondered if my text was a reminder to you. You were like, "Oh, I forgot I had it."
Yeah,
But no, you remembered. Okay.
and I said no, and you said well, and I think you made it, and I think and I think what you responded with made it mandatory that I had to get rid of the blade. You said you wanted video evidence.
Yeah, I
you
remember
said
that.
you want you said you wanted video evidence of me getting rid of the blade. I'm like, oh man.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, like okay,
Yep.
yeah. So I gave you that video. I gave you that
You did.
video. Gave you that video evidence. Um, Ironically, I saw another blade on the ground at
I
work.
think you told me about that too. Yeah.
Um, I think the thing about it is I did not pick it up this time.
Yeah.
I did not pick it up this time. Um,
Thank you.
so um, at the at the um at the Memphis walk, um, at the Memphis walk in 2023. Um, that was the first time I told my story. Unfortunately, we only had 5 minutes to tell it.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we only allowed so much time to tell her story. But but I had met this person online on Instagram. Okay, met them in late August, early September, and they had convinced me that they were going to um excuse me. Ooh, they convinced me that they were going to give me all this money or whatnot. And something in the back of my mind just told me that um this just it just doesn't sound it just doesn't sound right. And it finally came to the full forefront in late October. In late October, it finally came to the full forefront when the scales came off my eyes. And asked a few family members, asked friends, asked you in particular, um, this person doing this and that. Um, that's not Christian behavior. And you said, no. And so, needless to say that that it's kind of hard to talk about. It is really hard to talk about. That person left me with a just a mountain of credit card debt, financial debt, that I had to eventually go to court for in 2024. Um, yeah, I eventually had to go to court in 2024 and file bankruptcy.
Mm.
And so, and so, that was probably the lowest point I had ever been, because one of the questions that I asked myself was, how could I allow myself to get tricked like this? How could I allow myself to get tricked like this? And that was a low point. I wanted, um, I really wanted to end my life. I really did. I really did want to end my life, and but I did not. I did
No.
not. And when they say that choosing to live whenever your brain is telling you to give up, um, I realize that, hey, that does take true strength. It, it it does take true strength. Yeah,
It does.
it does take true.
Yeah.
It does take true strength. And
Mm.
here I am.
Here you are.
Here I
Thank
am. Yeah,
God. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
now that you're past that point, I, I think we've talked about this. I hope you realize you are not alone in being fooled by
mhm,
someone to that extent. It happens all the time, every day. That's why they do it, because it's lucrative, because a lot of people fall for it. And not everybody might go to the depths that you did,
mhm,
but it ruins a lot of people financially. And
it
they're
does.
everywhere, Sean. They're everywhere. You have to be, I mean, you have to be vigilant about these people. They are phishing, they are scamming, they are pretending to be your long lost son or nephew, kidnapped by, my aunt got scammed. I mean, you're not alone, Sean,
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. And I think you know that. Your brain knows that. Sometimes your heart doesn't know that when you've been scammed. You feel, like you're the
Hmm.
biggest target in the world. But
Hmm.
just know that you're not alone in that whole thing. That's just a terrible new industry that has popped up. People are making money doing this kind of terrible, terrible thing.
So I read about a someone in South Carolina. So, a South Carolina politician's son. A South Carolina politician's son.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I read that story, and that story was very similar to mine.
Yeah.
The guy was threatening. The guy, well, first of all, the guy was over in Nigeria. The guy was over in Nigeria a wo- pretending to be a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and he was threatening this young kid's family. If you don't send me money, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And the son of the South Carolina politician ended his life by suicide. Now, um, now, the U.S. actually caught on to that, um, and they extradited the guy in Nigeria back to the U.S. to face charges. And I read
Mm-hmm.
that, and I said, I wonder if God put this on my heart, if God allowed me to come across his story.
Mm.
because I just wonder if it's the same person who did this to me.
Yeah.
And,
We talked
and
about that. I remember. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I was wondering. I was like, I was like, I said, I was like, God, I think you had me come across the story for a reason because um I believe you were saying to me that this is the guy who did this to you.
I think I said it could be the guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
don't know for
Could be.
sure,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
it could very well be. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's a whole yeah. But that was a
Did Did you feel vindicated? Did you feel some, not a relief at reading that this man was being punished, but how did that make you feel, Sean, to see that happen and read
uh
that?
um well um first thing that went through my mind was condolences to the South Carolina politician whose son ended his life by suicide. That's the first
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
And the second thing I thought was um, this story sounds awfully familiar. The story sounds
Hmm.
awfully familiar, and now I have to relive his stuff again. I have to relive
Okay.
his stuff again. Um, so um, I don't know. I don't know. I I truly don't know how I felt. I truly don't
Well,
know.
when you read about that he was extradited back to the U.S. and
Yeah,
faced punishment,
yeah.
that was a separate
Um,
story, right? Or was it all the same story?
um, um, that was all included in the same
Okay.
story. Yeah,
Okay.
that was
All
all.
right.
Yeah, that was all included in the
Okay.
same
Yeah. Very,
story.
very, very sad. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, that was a real the whole point, and you never
I'm
want to
sorry.
relieve you never want to relieve stuff like that. Um, but
Mhm.
but I'm trying to think of a verse in the Bible that would be really good that I can think of that applies to this situation. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you and I were talking before our podcast. I've got a verse that for me is almost a mission statement,
Hmm.
um, because I didn't. I'm not suicidal. I don't have depression. I'm not personally struggling, but I lived with a man who did for almost 27 years. He didn't struggle for that long, but early on into our marriage, we noticed some things, and he got diagnosed about 10 years or 12 years into our marriage, and 13 years maybe. And then for another 14, it was a struggle. We had a lot of good years, but we had a lot of struggle. And then I ultimately lost him. And so what I'm saying is that living through a loss, and I think this applies whether you have a loss or whether you struggle. The verse talks about, and it's Second Corinthians in chapter 1, verse starting with verse 3, and I'll read it here in a minute. But basically, the gist of it is that God uses your pain God can use your pain to help others. And the way he does that is that by going through it, you are uniquely equipped to help others who are going through the exact same thing that you went through. So in your case, God, because you struggle with your suicidal thoughts and all those voices that tell you you're not worth anything or whatever they tell you, Sean, that you are equipped in a way that I am not to speak and help, speak with those people on the phone and help them in a way that I can't, because you can relate to what they're saying and you can offer them that strength. You know, you've gone through something, you're still going through it. You're able to help them in a way that I'm not, that I can't. And in the same way, I have gone through a suicide loss. There are things that I learned through that process that I wish I had learned much earlier before it happened to me. But I can't physically go back and know the things that I know now back then. The way I learned them was by experiencing this horrible loss. So God equips us in that way to help others in a way that we couldn't be, a way that I couldn't have before I lost Billy. So there's an equipping that happens after I've lost him, since I've lost him, that I'm now able to kind of meet them where they are after their loss and say, here's what helped me. Here's how I felt. Here's how you're going to feel. Here's what was, you know, what was going on with me. And I know that you're feeling similar things. It's not all the same, but so let me read the verse. I'm kind of getting off track here.
What's the verse
It,
again?
it is 2 Corinthians chapter 1, starting with verse 3. I'm just going to read through verse 7.
Okay.
Praise, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the same comfort we ourselves receive from God. For just as we share abundantly in the sufferings of Christ, so also our comfort abounds through Christ. If we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings that we suffer. So basically, I'm suffering with them, if that makes sense. And I can empathize in a way, you know, not just sympathize, but empathize. I can remember and recall those feelings, and I can help them through those, or try to help them through those in the way that others helped me. Does that make sense?
It does. It
So
does.
basically, God uses our pain to help others in a way that we couldn't have it if we didn't have that pain. So it's just this whole weird Back to the Future kind of thing, almost. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if we
Yeah.
could have met ourselves, you know, way back then or whatever, and tell ourselves these things, but we can't. All we can do is help others. So
Yeah.
that's my mission verse. And then, do you remember? I think I shared with you that Maya Angelou has a quote that is also a mission quote for me, and it's "Forgive yourself for not knowing what you learned before you learned it."
Mm-hmm.
And that was me, and I don't know if that's ever you,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when when I got tricked or scammed,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, I dreamed of some of the most vile things that could happen to that person. I
Mm.
dreamed of some of the most vile Mortal Kombat fatality like things that could happen to the person who did this to me. And for the longest time, that's all I thought about. I really wanted someone to just rip this person's you know what off, and I could not forgive that person for a long time, and but the Bible does teach for forgiveness, and after about a year, I finally came around. I finally came around. Um, um, if you do not forgive others, God will not forget if you. Um, and speaking of helping
There is a
others,
verse that says that.
speaking of helping others,
Mhm.
after I told my story at the 2023 walk, there were a couple of people who came up to me. Um, and one of the things that one of the people said to me was, now that you've told your story to others, you realize
Mhm.
that you realize that you can't do it. And what he meant when he said you can't do it is I can't end my, my life because I've inspired people. Um, because I have inspired because I have inspired people.
Mhm.
Um, um, to give them the strength, the courage to keep on going.
Mhm.
Um, um, Also, this woman came up to me. Um, she lost her son to suit. She lost her son to suit. She lost her son to suicide, and she said she misses her son. She misses her son every day. She says she misses her son every day, and yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you are an inspiration, Sean. You are to me,
yeah.
and I know you are to
Uh,
a lot of people that have heard your story. And you're going
um,
to hopefully tell it again, right? How much
um,
time do we have? Are we almost wrapping up here?
yeah, yeah. We are about to wrap up soon. Um, I completely forgot where he was. I completely
Where
forgot
what?
where we were. Completely forgot where we were. Okay, we were talking about
You said this woman lost her son and she misses him every day.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Her son ended his life by suicide. Um, and yeah, so and man, yeah, yeah. It's that kind of stuff that leads you to be speechless.
mhm.
Um, the, um, by the way, I got this at the Nashville walk. That little, that little pa- that little bracelet, a
Yeah.
little bracelet packet, and I have it here at my desk, and I actually have
Oh,
it at my desk right now. Here it is,
yeah.
right here. Yeah,
I see that. That's
yeah.
right.
So I keep that at my desk. Um, uh, yeah, and um,
Yeah, we all got
and
bracelets.
I'm actually wearing
You're
it.
wearing
Yeah,
yours? Yeah.
yeah.
I
I'm
gave it
actually
to my I
wearing.
gave my niece mine. She wanted mine, so she's
Ah,
wearing it.
okay.
Yeah.
So also had enough. Also had another card. It says, "I hope this bracelet puts a smile on your face and some brightness in your day. Keep this for yourself, or pass it to someone who can use a little reminder to keep smiling.
Mm.
In loving memory of my Uncle Bill, my stepdad Bob, and my little sister Heather.
Wow.
Tawny Mueller." hashtag keep smiling. Yeah.
Mm,
And
that's
so,
great.
and so, I always close out my videos with saying a couple of things. You matter. You are loved. You are not a burden. And you are more than enough. And don't let anybody else ever tell you any differently. Real quickly, um, what
Amen.
is your response? What is your response to people who say depression is narcissism?
I I may have heard that at some point years ago. I don't
Yeah.
remember what the arguments are. I don't remember what
Mhm.
the logic is there. So I'd have to look at it before I could tell you what I think about that. I don't.
Okay. Okay. Because somebody said depression is just a narcissism, which I completely disagree.
I
Which
yeah.
completely.
I think that statement is wrong. Absolutely.
Oh, I got out of cramp. I got out of
Oh
cramp.
no.
I got a
Drink
cramp.
some
Yeah.
water. Drink some water.
I got out of
You
cramp.
need to
So
hydrate.
yeah. So I got to end right here. Um,
Okay.
I got to end right here. I always keep this rock at my desk too, and it's a 98
Oh,
eight rock.
and there's hope.
Yeah. And so yeah.
Yes. All right.
All right.
God bless you, Sean.
Unfortunately, this interview's ending. I
All
am
right.
cramping, and
Okay.
I will see you all. And I will see you all later. All right.
Okay.
All
Good
right.
night.